Live Talk with PPN. I'm MG with the crew tonight. We're going to talk about mainstream media, Patriot movement, Oregon standoff, and YouTube wars. Mainstream media, I think, in my personal opinion, programs your reality. It's like a re-education camp, and it has been for many, many years. Since we were kids, we used to have the TV or radio playing in the background, and while we're doing homework or taking a shower, cleaning the house, working in the garage, whatever. The whole time we are being conditioned to think without even knowing it. There's 1,500 newspapers, 1,100 magazines, 9,000 radio stations, 1,500 TV stations, 2,400 publishers, and they are all owned by 3 corporations. That's it, 3. So we're obviously a monopoly on our minds. And it has been for, like I said, many years. They will sway your thinking to what best suits them. And with the help of keeping you fluoridated, calcified, modified, and now heavily vaccinated, they're doing a good job of it too. But for those few who, for whatever reason, been able to discern the bullshit from reality and see what's really, being a mission to wake up other people and whatnot, because the right thing to do, everyone needs to see the world with their eyes wide open. It's hard because, at first, we've been conditioned since childhood. So myself, I've learned to question everything since then, since I've been awake anyway. We've seen proof with this administration. Black is white, white is black, Christianity is bad, but killing, raping, and pillaging in the name of Allah is okay. Yet gun grab is necessary for our own safety. Our history is being rewritten to suit those who hide with the truth and do nothing. Common Core is hurting our children's educational growth, still nothing being done. Forced vaccinations, lab-created viruses turned loose in the public, cause and solution. Both Ferguson and Baltimore were burnt to the ground, and they labeled that as protesters. While Oregon Wildlife Refuge, out in the middle of nowhere, was taken over by peaceful constitutionalists, and they are considered domestic terrorists. See how the mainstream media is swaying your thinking? And all that is just a bigger of a cover-up. We've already established the fact that Oregon is more to what's going on there. Aside from if you take the constitutionalists away, the protesters away, the occupiers, and look at the bigger picture, they have uncovered something massive. That's why they have what's going on there. Because think about it, the FBI wasn't deployed at Ferguson or Baltimore, yet Blackstone's in Oregon. So, and then you have one Patriot deceased, and that was because he stood for what he believed in. And I'm still questioning the Coopers. Why aren't they a part of those indicted? Why didn't they make the list? What's going on with them? So you see, in order to get at the truth, you need to ask questions. Do your own research. There's a war going on, and you can either take part in it or you can sit back and do nothing. But keep this in mind. There's always a consequence, and you must be willing to accept it. So if you don't ask questions, you'll never know what's coming. And by failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. Now, having that said, I want to talk more about militias and 3%ers, or whatever you want to call it this week. To me, it's all part of the same thing. It's the Patriot movement. First, let's look at the militia and what it means. By Wikipedia standards, it's generally an army or other fighting unit that's composed of non-professional fighters, citizens of nation or subjects of state or government who can be called upon to enter a combat situation, as opposed to a professional force or regular full-time military personnel. Which means, folks, it's comprised of everyday normal citizens just like you and me. Now, you have some militias out there, and I won't name them for obvious reasons, but for those, they require a little bit more stricter criteria for their membership. They want first responders such as like firefighters or EMTs, LEOs, military, reserves, and National Guard in order to be a full member of their militia. And hey, I get it. It just makes good sense. I'm definitely not going to bash it, as we have our own boots on the ground with Minutemen USA, or MMUSA, as you're probably more familiar with. However, what happens to the other 80% of those like-minded folks that don't fit into that criteria? I mean, don't hold me to that number. I'm just throwing it out there as an example. What happens to these everyday citizens like you and me? Well, that's what our Patriot Preparedness Network, or PPN, is about. Everyday citizens like you and me that are like-minded. I truly believe every one of us has a skill to bring to the table. And let's face it, whether it's shit hit the fan or a national disaster, who are you going to be around? Your neighbors, your family, maybe close friends. Not every neighborhood has a full-fledged combat-ready militia member close by. So in that instance, it would be beneficial for you to have formed your own unit or group and get the education you need to survive in any situation, whatever that might occur, whether it be natural or man-made. And by our group being a national group, we're able to reach out further and help those who want to learn or form their own units in their own local area. Because let's face it, folks, it's a known fact that it's just safer in groups. And now some will say preppers or militia are crazy, tinfoil hat wearing nut jobs. My answer to that is hell no, we're not. Have you looked around? Even Ray Charles can see the shit's getting thick. And this stuff out in Oregon, that's going on, it makes sense because there's a news article I saw tonight from Newsweek. Right-wing extremists are a bigger threat to America than ISIS. Big, huge write-up. I'll put that link down below. They even bring Oregon into it. They compared them to like KKK and a bunch of other crap. They're just bundling it all up, and it's crazy. But so the mass media is trying to manipulate your thinking on patriots and people who you can't classify us as in the same group as some crazy person that's on the what is that radar, the SSRI drugs or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't put us in the same group as that. You have a few here and there that might not be completely stable as compared to a group of people. What is that, mass crazy? I mean, come on. So yeah, they're just trying to sway your thinking and condition you otherwise, or re-educate you. But needless to say, I think it's crazy. And so I put together 35 question interactive form for those who wish to see where they stack up with their survivability rate, just for fun. I'll put that link in the below also. It's just like food for thought and a good direction for you to head in. So if you go through the questions and you say, oh wow, this is about my survivability if whatever happens, and this is pretty much preparing me as far as what I need and what I need to know or what I don't know, it fills the holes and the gaps for you. So it's easy and quick. Yeah, it's interactive, so you fill it out. It'll come to our email. We'll kick you the results, whatever. The link will be down below. I just want to touch base real quick with one other thing. Call it food for thought, if you will. I saw a comment the other day that impressed me, and it read, "No amount of protesting, picketing, begging, pleading, asking, whining, crying, etc. will end the illegal takeover of America. The quickest way to end this takeover of America by the treacherous, bottom-feeding, freeloading, lazy, worthless, devil-worshipping murderers is supposed to be through the people's 535-member Congress. Illegally, there is even one representative of the peoples among the 535 in Congress. The banks and operations have taken control of the people's U.S. government, Inc. There are only two solutions, and they are: 1. Find 535 honest Americans to run for and win Congress and America back for the freeloading bums. 2. Bring together 1 million people from into every state, including the foreign country of Washington, D.C. at the same time. Converge on each of those state capitol buildings. Remove the treacherous criminals inside and regain every state in America. The people can call their National Guard and military forces to aid in the arrest of these treacherous criminals that are illegally occupying and controlling the people's government. The people can leave the armaments at the house with or without the people's National Guard or military forces. The treacherous criminals with the badges will run like the cowards they are when they see that many good people." And you know what? I feel the same way as this guy. I mean, it's gotten to that point. It's just my opinion. Just to make that clear so no one comes back and bitches and it's based on assumption or presumption. So on that, there's a side note for all the YouTube truthers out there. You know who you cats are. You really need to stop all this YouTube bickering bullshit. You're all here wanting to do the same thing, and that's get at the truth. So instead of allowing stupid shit to get between you, why not form an alliance and work together? You could get a hell of a lot more accomplished if you did. And that's what my thoughts are for tonight. You guys got anything you all want to add to that? As in, a group's becoming part of a group. How have you been since you've been in this group? What, have you learned anything from, getting from anything from this group, etc.?
Well, for me, I have become more aware of the issues across the nation and around the world. For me, the turning point of really preparing was back in, I forget what year it was, but Windows XP support was about to end, and there was a possibility of banks getting hacked into and us losing whatever money we had in the bank. So what did you have to do to get ready for that? Take your money out of the bank. That didn't cost a penny. Well, that really got my eyes open to be prepared for what life may throw at me. Scrolling down.
I completely agree. But not only that, it's just like when that's taking one approach as a single person. You have family members or you have friends or other people that are around you that you want to discuss those kind of things with. You just can't go to anybody off the street without fear of them thinking you're a nutcase because of the mainstream media and the way they've made us look.
That's why I love being a part of our group. Is we have the app that we can talk real time to each other, and I'm speaking with like-minded patriots, and honestly, it's really refreshing because everyone I've met and talked about these issues with around here so far, they're all screwed in the head. They believe, oh, I'll just figure something out and I'll take what so-and-so has and this and that. I mean, no one knows what I have. And it's going to stay that way because I don't want some...
Sorry to cut you off, but doesn't that sound like a welfare leech? That's somebody that says, oh, I'll just take it, take it, take it. No one knows how to earn shit anymore. Nobody knows how to be self-sustained anymore. Survival skills is just that. You have to learn how to do everything totally different what you're used to, because you've been government fed, you've been mass media conditioned, you don't know how to take care of yourself anymore. Like homesteading or producing your own food or hunting and gather is what we're supposed to be originally. So a lot of people don't have that. So they're those folks that have that mindset of, oh, we'll just take it, we'll steal it. Well, you have a lot of opposition to go through to get to that point, because the people who have prepared have also beefed up their security and defenses. So if you think you're just going to walk up to somebody, pop them in the mouth, and take what they got, you're going to have a rude awakening, because that's not how it's going to happen. Now, for some that are just like themselves, that have the same thought pattern, there's going to be a whole lot of chaos and a whole lot of injury, if not death, because of that.
Well, I always think of it this way. I haven't actually said this to anyone yet, and that is, I'm sure most people's idea, if shit is the fan, I mean, I'm down in Florida. Whenever a hurricane's coming, I see basically shit hitting the fan. Mind you, it doesn't necessarily hit here, but people have time to get ready for it. And everyone seems to think, oh, I can just go to Walmart and get what I need, or I can just go to Home Depot and get what I need. Yeah, well, the thousands of other people in your community have the exact same idea. And unfortunately, Walmart, Home Depot, these other home improvement stores, these other retail stores, they don't have the supplies in store in order to cover the thousands of people in your area. So what are you going to do? You really need to be prepared ahead of time to be ready in case this stuff happens.
Has anybody ever seen all the fights on Black Friday? That's going to
Yeah,
Yeah.
be that's
I avoid the malls.
that's going to be like that times 10, 100, because it's going to be to the point where when that happens, whether it be like I said, man-made or natural, people are going to be scraping to try to find whatever they can, and they don't care who they got to climb over to get to it.
No,
And if you're
I
already prepared, then you really don't have to worry about that. And that's what that little food for thought form we put together gives you an idea, a projection of what you need to sustain yourself through anything.
Well,
ju-
now with the stuff you have, you're in the protect mode when these people start coming. Because once everything's off the shelves, they're going to start, you know what I mean, especially in the urban areas, they're going to house to house who's got what.
a good example, a perfect example that happened, I forget when, it was within at least the last couple of years, when the EBT cards failed in the one community, and how the stores got ran on and people just bought up everything. Well, that's what it's going to be like if shit hits the fan. You're going to have Jimbo and his brother and sister and mother with a shopping cart filled up to the top trying to get stuff out that they think they need. Well, okay, they may need it, but what's that leave you? Nothing.
That
And
will
not
only
only
last for about 2 hours because they don't have enough, like you said, they don't have enough stockpile to sustain something like that. The only reason that the EBT thing didn't turn out that way is because the EBT, they were still going through a checkout lane. It was slowing them down.
but you saw the mindset of those type of people. You know, I'm not trying to say all people who have EBT are assholes, but a good bit of them, when they feel that they have, they can't have no access to stuff like that to feed their kids or whatever, their mindset goes crazy.
That could be a toss-up because some of the people on food stamps don't really give a shit about their kids.
Well, that's true, but I'm just saying, I watched a fight today on YouTube with these two women over some shit in Walmart, and I'm thinking, really? And she's telling her kid, hit her, and the kid might be 5 years old. I was just the mentality of people, though. Today's generation is so different from my generation, and they just today don't give a shit about anybody. I mean, it's all out for themselves, and so people have to keep that in mind, that it's best to prepare first and have it on hand than have to deal with mass people anywhere. So make sure you have plenty of water, plenty of food. If we're out, say it's back to the Stone Age, you have to be able to feed yourself long term, which means you need to get something that's, whether it be seeds or produce or something that you can produce yourself over and over and over again to help sustain you and your family. And people don't think about that. Also, if shit hits the fan, or whether it's natural or man-made, your banking systems are going to be going down. So you need to have some kind of cash on hand, or you're not going to get squat from that store that you're going to unless you plan on stealing all that stuff.
Now, I will point out an important point here, and that is that even though shit is the fan and you won't be able to use your credit cards, you may be thinking, oh, cash has no value, or it'll be good for forever and this and that. No, cash will only have value for at least a day maybe 2 days after shit really hits the fan and we have like total economic collapse. After that, forget it.
Right, so you at least have to have some kind of cash on hand. I know I've had some pulled out, and I keep it, with my gear, so for that instance, so that I at least have some kind of cash on hand. Because if you keep everything in the bank and you're used to using your debit card or whatever, that's not going to be an option when it hits. So it's best to always have cash on hand for that purpose. Also, like silver, I mean, things that you're going to be able to trade with later, because it's going to end up being into a barter system type setting. So you learn all these things by getting into a good group, either whether it be a prepping group or what have you. A lot of people says, well, I can't get into a militia because I'm not a Leo, I'm not a former military. Yeah, like I said, that 80%, and I'm just throwing that number out there for an example, of percent of regular everyday citizens, they all are, that are like-minded, that want to belong to a group, want to get educated, want to learn either it's survival skills, bushcrafting, which goes with the survival skills and tracking, whatever, and first aid, prepping, I know Gunny's wife does couponing, which helps with preps. So all these things you learn being in a group like this, and being that we're national, we can, help people form their own units in their own local area. And they can have that security there, too, of having a group. It's always better and safer in groups. So, like I was saying in an earlier segment last week, the buddy system is an important thing, especially with the terrorism and the way things are going these days. Always have someone with you. Never be on your own by yourself like you were before. It's just not safe anymore. So, being able to be in a group has helped me tremendously, not just because I get to meet new people that are like-minded, but we form a relationship over the time. We become close. We design our plans together, A, B, and C, depending on how far apart we are. We have a plan put in place with fail-safes, so in the event something happens, we can have a meeting spot. You can call it a BC or base camp, whatever, but that helps. It takes the fear down, and it gives you a plan, and you're not alone. And being in the group, you can throw information back and forth as far as gear goes, or what's current going on in the news, how all these different things with survival. Just it makes lots of sense to be in a group and not be in fear, because mass media is telling you they're all crazy. And of course they're going to tell you that, because they're owned by 3 corporations. All of that I mentioned earlier is only owned by 3 corporations, so it's a monopoly on your mind. They want to be able to control what information you get, and it's always with I won't even go as far as to give them saying half truths. It's not even that. You might get a quarter of it, and the rest of it's twisted.
Yeah, the same thing go on when Clinton was president about militias. They were white supremacists, they were this, they were that, and they would target them as psychos and all this happy crap, and they're not. You're going to have your few, like you said, and that's just normal. You got that every day, no matter where you go.
Exactly. And the thing about that is the government's afraid of we the people, because we outnumber them. And what they fail to realize is that we can, if collected, and that's why they want us divided right now. Like I said, we've mentioned that in an earlier segment last week. They want all of us divided, and what used to be right is wrong now, and Christianity's bad, all this crazy crap. This dude, I just read an article yesterday, this guy, this American Muslim from Silver Spring, Maryland, okay, wanted to have a meetup on legalizing rape. But he canceled it, and let me tell you, it was in his best interest to cancel it too. But that's just how crazy this world has gotten. But they're going to turn around and call, preppers or militias or 3%ers crazy people, supremacists, extremists, terrorists. Really? Because we want to preserve our Constitution. What this land was, founded on, and we're trying to make the government abide by it and to adhere to it, and they don't like that. So we're going to put as much disinformation out there as we can, discredit these people as much as we can. We're going to divide the populace as much as we can, keep them all at each other's throats so they don't see what's going on. Just like with the TPPA. Transparent administration, my ass. Nothing has been transparent.
The thing with militias is they group every white male that goes out and commits a crime or mass murder. They immediately say he's in a militia. When they can then go back 2 seconds after they get done running the story and find out, no, the guy was in a psych ward, somehow got a hold of a gun legally because somebody at the state police dropped the ball on the background check. But background checks will save us.
But that doesn't come up in a background check. It should, but it don't.
Oh, but it is. The law has changed now.
It is supposed to come up in a background check, has been that way since 95, I believe. But the only way it comes up is if you are involuntarily submitted to the hospital for psych eval.
Well, we purchased weapons, firearms, and whatnot, and that has never came up. I know they changed the law with this last executive order that's going to be part of the law now, that they have to do this, and they're going to, if you're rubber stamped, so to speak, they will refuse to sell you firearms if you have any kind of mental instability or mental health issue, and that is being imposed. I don't know when it goes into effect. I'm sure since he just signed it with his magic pen within the month that's going to take effect. But over the years, of owning firearms, I have never had any of that as a background check, unless it's Brandon Curtis's vetting system. Hey, it might be his vetting system.
It's actually on the state police form you fill out here in Pennsylvania. You have to check no to have you been involuntarily submitted to a mental hospital for evaluation.
Yeah, but do they actually really check to see if you were?
The way the law in PA works is the doctor is required to tell the county, who's required to tell the state police.
Okay, great, but I lived in Pennsylvania for 10 years too, and when I went in to get, depending on what county you're in, okay, at the time Adams County, it took 2 weeks, so they do whatever background checks there. York County, you go in and the same day you fill out your stuff, you're walking out with a CCW permit. The same day. No classes, no nothing.
Yeah, same way for Perry County where I'm at. Also, you can get a firearm in Pennsylvania in most counties, and all they have to do is call the state police. They don't have to do any other background checks.
Yeah, so
the state police, Pennsylvania State Police goes right to the FBI when they do the background check.
Well, yeah, they all share data back and forth. It
all goes right in. It goes straight to them. That Weatherby shotgun I got, I had to go pick it up over in PA. He didn't ask me anything about mental health, but we had to do the whole list, fill that all out.
I want to say it's somewhere in the list. I don't know if I can find the form or not.
Well, that just goes to show you there's so many holes that things get slipped through, and I guess that's what the administration was trying to do by this new executive order for, against the gun, whatever, trying to change the laws on the gun thing. If you've been rubber stamped, well, is what I call, a mental health issue, you're not going to be able to own a gun. So, part of the gun grab.
Well, my favorite thing about that executive action was knowing gun law and how much of that executive action just basically reinforced what was already there, like the online loophole. Okay, well, if I go to an online shop and I purchase a gun, I cannot get it shipped to me no matter what. It has to be shipped to a federal firearms dealer who then will run a background check on me. And that's somehow a loophole? Or maybe they were...
That's always been like that, and that just shows you how much the government doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Well, I
All right,
think that,
because anytime you buy a gun online from a, like if you get it from Buds or wherever, it's got to go to an FFL dealer. It's got to go to a gun shop, and it's the first thing they ask you: do you have the guy's number or who you're sending it to, so they can get his number to send it to him. Then
right,
you get your background check when you pick it up.
right.
As for the I want to call them flea markets, but not gun shows thing. Most of those guys in there will do a background check on you. If it's a private owner, no.
Yeah,
But I know here, if you buy a gun at a gun show in Ohio, the first thing they're going to ask you, I need to see your driver's license to make sure you're from Ohio before I sell you this gun.
right, right.
And they have to do that.
Well, my only thought between by the online loophole would be if you're going to someplace, I know it's been shut down, but going to someplace like Silk Road and buying and purchasing these firearms illegally. All right, it's illegal. You're not going to get a background check. Okay, you can put down every law in the book. They're still getting it illegally. So magically they're going to get a background check? What?
You're right. What kills me the most is they come up with all this mumbo jumbo bullshit, and they don't have a clue. You see them on there.
Exactly.
They had the lady on there talking one day about banning firearms and stuff, and she's holding up a magazine. She didn't even know what it was. It's like, really?
Well,
You're going to ban this? You don't even know what the hell you got in your hand. It's not a gun, you moron.
Well, I'll be dead honest with you. I cannot find anywhere in the Second Amendment that says that felons cannot purchase firearms. I did not find anywhere in the Second Amendment that says crazy people can't purchase firearms. The only thing I find in the Second Amendment is that Congress is not allowed to tell me who can and who cannot own a firearm. The only people that can are the states, and that is dependent on the state constitutions.
Exactly. And that's why that shall not be infringed is posted at the bottom of that Second Amendment.
Right, and that's why states like New Jersey and New York, who do not have a Second Amendment in their state constitutions, go and limit guns and everything else because they're
They
not
rob us
restricted.
of our rights in the name of safety.
Right, but the people never restricted their state governments from doing it, so the state governments give
Walked
them
all over them.
power.
Yeah, walked all over them.
Think of the children, though. It's the children we're thinking of.
Oh, please.
No, it's basically the bottom line is that they're robbing us of our freedoms and our rights, and they're using the guise of safety for that reason. Yes, you're going to have a few unstable people out there. You've got it every day, okay? You've got gang fights every day. But, we don't have a gun problem. We have a criminal problem, and that's where they need to focus at. They need to focus at taking these guys who are criminals breaking the law off the streets. And if we had, look at Chicago with their guns restrictions. They have reached an all-time high, and we've only been in 2016 for a little over a month. So that's proof in the pudding right there, so to speak. Basically, they've got it all backwards, and it's because of their agenda. They have a set agenda. It's no secret. It's out there in your face, and yet people, keep keeping their heads up their asses and only popping out every 5 minutes to see if the sun's shining. They've got to stop that and start waking up and being a part of the entire, nation as a group, as a whole, to make any significant changes, just like that guy, posted in his comment that I just had to reiterate because it made perfect sense. It made perfect sense. And if you can't go the legal route, then take a hard stand. And that's exactly what those protesters, those occupiers did in Oregon. They tried to go the legal way and had to end up taking a hard stand because it fell on deaf ears. And now everybody's going to, mass media and everybody else is going to start rating them as terrorists. They're militants. They're, the horrible people. But And then today was LaVoy Finnecam's funeral, and it was, a lot of people turned out. They're going to have the actual, today was, I guess, the viewing, tomorrow's the funeral, and I read somewhere, or it was on a video live stream, maybe Spiro's, had said that the government is so paranoid that they won't let them. They made a comment of, don't be in your black SUVs, anything government, that stands out that says I'm government. Don't do that. Be a gray man today. Because they're so paranoid that they're going to take revenge or vindicate his death. Okay? And so that just speaks for itself of why they're pushing for gun grabs, why they're pushing for mass media to monopolize your brain on the thought of that all militias are crazy, all people who are constitutionalists are crazy, that kind of stuff. What we stand for scares them because what they stand for is not for us. Okay? So it's to their benefit. And if we challenge that, that puts their agenda at risk. So I want to also touch base when, Gunny had made a comment about, white men and militias. It's not a race-based thing, okay? I know quite a few African Americans, quite a few Hispanics that are in militias or like-minded folk that are also constitutionalists. They were bred, born, and raised here in the United States, and they have, voters' rights, and they also have a right to participate in whatever they feel necessary that's makes them passionate about this country. We all, like I said, bleed the same. We all put our pants on one leg at a time. So, in my theory, if a militia is race-based, that's not a true militia. Everyone is equal in my eyes. Everyone has a skill to bring to the table.
To clarify that statement, I was referring to the mass media saying that all white men going out and doing that were in the militia.
Right, because they're trying to monopolize how people think. It's all crazy white people. They have been trying to divide us for God knows how long. But it just made me think when you made that comment to make sure that everybody knows that when in this Patriot movement, it's not race-based. It's not. Everyone that's like-minded is a patriot. So if we stick together, like I said, it's safer in groups, but you also get a lot further ahead in what we're trying to accomplish as far as protecting our Constitution, making this government abide by it. Otherwise, we're dead in the water. And hey, look at today, TPPA, man. The stuff that involves in that screws us immensely.
It does.
And Gunny, what do you think about Patriot groups? Why you joined one? What your thoughts on all that?
Well, to be honest, when I was looking for a Patriots group was probably about 3 years ago. And I had become awakened, mainly because I study history and didn't like where everything was going. Still don't. Still an annoying fact in life. I want to put my head back in the sand, but my brain won't let me. Anyway, you need to be in a group because a group will help you push to be your best. A group will strive for excellence if it's a good group. There are a lot of bad groups out there that they won't strive for excellence and they won't try to make you better. They won't help you get prepared. They don't have a clue what they're doing. Luckily, this is a group where we do try to get the training you need, and we also try to make sure everybody is on the same page, has the same amount of preps, and is self-contained. Where we wouldn't go to some place in Oregon and ask for somebody to send us snacks. We would bring our own snacks. We come self-contained, as a militiaman should be always self-contained. Mainly for the camaraderie, too. It helps you stay on top of events. It helps you plan for the future. And like I said, it helps you find out what gear is best to put in your bags and what gear is just complete junk and you should avoid it like the plague.
Exactly. And also, let's put this in a scenario situation where we're back to the Stone Age and we have formed a group and our group works well together. We've trained together, we've practiced together, we've learned and educated each other, and we are a well-organized group. We collaborated over the time of our prepping with everything. You know, we get along great. We've formed a brotherhood, camaraderie, like you said. Um, we're able to identify each other's skill sets. What what really helps make this group tick? Your skill set might be something different from mine. I might have more medical versus the next guy might have more tactical versus the next guy might have more homesteading versus the next guy have bushcrafting, whatever. Everyone has those skill sets that can come to the table, and we form a nice group, and now we're balanced. So we're back to the Stone Age. We've shit hit the fan. And we've gotten to the point where our plans A, B, and C have been met and dealt with, and we're at our place now. It's up to us to form the next stage of our own community. We help each other with our layout of our community and the structure as far as government of our community. Who's going to be doing what, who's in charge of what, delegate whatever jobs we need so that everyone's doing their part. Help each other with their places to sleep and live, and building those things. We work together. That's important to build that type of rapport for whoever you're going to be spending that time with, because who knows how long you're going to be there. You might even be the first to start over completely. So everyone, it makes sense for everyone to be able to be on the same page, to be able to get along with each other, to learn together, grow together, and to be able to have those units in place in everybody's local area. And you start out with a unit of 5 people and work your way up to however many, whether it be a preppers group or a militia group or whatever. But as long as it's all under the same guise of the main purpose, and that's to protect that Constitution, to live by that Constitution, and to keep your oaths.
And if I could add something, as a truck driver that has been in the sleeper with people you cannot stand, you definitely want to make sure you can get along with these people, because if you're trapped out in the middle of the wilderness with these people for 30 days and you don't get along with them, you all will be like the Donner Party and will never make it across the mountain.
Exactly. I mean, hey, I'm not going to say it's been a bed of roses in this group. We've been established actually since October 2012. Okay, and PPN came along when we thought we needed something extra to help everyone and be able to reach further out in 2013. And we've seen people come and we've seen people go, and that's mainly due because it's versatility. I mean, or diversity. You have so many different kinds of personalities, and that's why I said you might not get along with everyone, but you can always agree to disagree. And as long as you try to keep a level head, there's ways of dealing with instability. If one member just completely freaks out, there's one way of doing it. But the loyalty that you acquire through the group over the time that you're spent together, we have a philosophy that no man's left behind. Some people might need to be extracted in a situation. You have to really weigh those pros and cons of going to get that person out, who you're going to send to get that person out, and you have to value each other's lives, because it's going to take everyone doing their part to make this a successful, I guess you could call it a mission, to survivability. You need people to be able to be on patrol security-wise at night, or shift changes and whatnot, and people are going to get tired and cranky, and as long as you guys get along as a family, and I know some families out there are dysfunctional as all get out, but they're still family. You know what I mean? And even Gunny, I mean, Gunny's a truck driver. He's tired lots of times because his shifts are different or weird or whatever. He's got a family he's got to try to raise, and he can be cranky as a bear with a sore ass sometimes. And sometimes, he'll push the wrong buttons, but we always learn to come back from that and to refocus that, hey, we've grown to be a family at this group. Everyone is a family here, and we take it as such. We take it serious, and so we don't let grudges be, the end of us or our demise. And or if people want to walk off and be crybabies or whatever, that's your prerogative. But for the most part, we're focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's survivability and to helping others get there and educate them on what they need and what they're missing as far as their preps and whatnot. So the importance of a group is far than what I can even imagine to put into words. It's really important that everybody. You can't do it alone. You just can't. You can't. It's like being a football team. You're going out for that game, and you can't be one player play every damn ball hog. You can't be a running back, you can't be a quarterback, you can't be a lineman all at the same time. So
you can't be a pitcher and play the outfield at the same time.
Exactly. So that's why it helps to be part of a team, And like I said, yeah, there's some militias out there that only want a certain criteria of people. But what we're different that sets us apart is that we looked at the other 80% or however many percentage of people that are everyday citizens. And if you know your history, what a militia is, and I read that Wikipedia standard, it's of everyday citizens, and they still won that, and they were up against the British Army. And they called the crazy farmers, were coming at them with everything they had. So, if they want to call us, crazy militiamen or crazy preppers or crazy militants, extremists, whatever, that's where it's history repeating itself. And it's known over thousands of years. History does repeat itself. And because we threaten the government with their agenda, that makes them want to push harder to discredit us. So you need to do your own research. Talk to people. See through the bullshit. Mass media is bullshit. See through that. And ask yourself, I know there's something wrong. This country is corrupt as all get out. But I need to, and if I want to make a change, or if I just want to survive what's to come next, it's always good to be in a team and in a group. Hawkeye, did you want to say why you got into a group?
I joined this because, mostly because we think alike. And like Renegade said, the camaraderie, the chance to improve and things you don't know about, other people do know. I bring stuff to the table, but other people bring their things to the table. But you're going to need a group to survive, and you just can't do it out and by yourself, especially, when you end up going to be out in the woods or something. You ain't going to make it without other people around you all doing their part to keep everything going.
Exactly, and that's why it's good to, learn first aid. There's ways of suturing, and you can't just, you're not going to be able to do it. You see it in the movies, but this is real life here. When you get a threatening wound that you need to, maybe you can't even reach it, you fell on your back or whatever, your teammate or group, whoever's established their first aid area, center, whatever, they can help you out. And you learn as you go. Like our group, we're doing this year at our survival weekend, and we do that twice a year. We are doing a first aid segment so that we can learn CPR, we can learn how to plug a wound and suture a wound or whatever, help the buddy system getting a guy out of the line of fire or what have you. You always, everything goes hand in hand. If you're going to train combat, basic combat or advanced combat, you're going to also have to learn first aid, because you're going to take one of your teammates might take one. You've got to be able to know first aid right then and there. So, and we all are going to carry IFACs, so that's part of the whole thing. You train, and then you practice. So we come together for training twice a year, and then the rest of the time we're practicing. When we go to the range, or that's considered practice. when we go to survival weekends that we put on twice a year, that's training. And that's when we learn proper positioning, proper tactical, that kind of thing, survival skills. Um, all that thing. So you train with someone who's more on a professional level on whatever you're looking at the time, whether it be tactical, survival, or first aid. Then the rest of the time you practice. And like we take a rainy day and go through our gear and stuff like that, rotation, that's practice. We go to the range, we shoot our guns, or we do a healthy challenge like we just did one last week at the range time. That's practice. So practice makes perfect, and it's true. So you have your training and you have your practice, and that's great because you have a group that you can do healthy challenges with, compare notes together on whatever, whether it be firearms or your bob or your what's in my IFAC kit, anything like that, and it helps each other, and you grow together, and you learn to rely on that teammate. You should be able to trust them as much as as much as they trust you. So, and that's going to come in handy when shit hits the fan, or whether it be a hurricane or a disaster or whatever. And like I said, you're not going to have one of those hardened, full-fledged militia members down the street who is combat ready, like these first responders or whatever, former military. Okay, so that every average day citizen's got to learn or acquire some kind of skill set in those fields, and these groups help.
I got some more stuff that I have experienced because of the group.
Okay, well, spit it out.
All right. By being a part of our group, it really opened my eyes, like I said before, on what to prepare for what life may throw at me. Since joining, I've gotten 2 firearms. I never even touched a firearm before that, and I have 2 now with a decent amount of ammo for both. I've been primitive camping, meaning no electronics, nothing fancy, no, it just my gear and me. That's it. And I've learned how to use all of it. By being a part of our group and reading the different news stories and stuff that come up, I've totally turned around my health, where I'm on a variety of vitamins and supplements now. I wasn't on those before. And I do have a traumatic brain injury, or I am a traumatic brain injury survivor. By all rights, I should be on some maintenance medication, but I'm on nothing.
And that in itself is a challenge, especially when you're on your own. You've got to build a structure, you've got to build fire, you've got to gather wood, you've got to get your water, and you do all this on your own. Because I remember at Survival Weekend, you were trying to light your rocket stove, and I kept saying, do you want me to help you? Do you want me to help you? And you said, no, I need to learn to do this on my own. And the only thing I did do was maybe give you a couple of quick tips that would make it an easy start, like with the Vaseline and the cotton swabs, and
Right.
go that route. Don't always rely on those fuel tabs, because they run out. So, and of course it's the same thing with the Vaseline swabs. They'll run out, so you have to learn to make your own fat wood. You learn so much, and because but some people would say, oh, well, you have limitations. Well, Captain Radar don't have limitations, okay? He pushes through those limitations.
Well,
And
I have a great example of pushing through limitations. Prior to the survival weekend, the furthest I've driven from my house, where I'm currently living, for years, like since the brain injury, was maybe 100 miles round trip. For the survival weekend, I decided to drive the entire way because I didn't want to have to worry about checking all of my gear for an airline. I went over 2,000 miles to the survival weekend, and it really pushed me beyond what I thought I could do. I won't lie. Going into it, like the day before I left, I was freaking out mentally, thinking, oh, I won't be able to do this, or, oh, this can go wrong, that can go wrong, and everything else. But I pushed through it, and I did it. Now, I know myself that I am capable of doing it. Why? Because I stepped out of my comfort zone and I grew as a person. And I have no one else to thank but our group for pushing me to become a better person.
We'll make a trucker of you yet.
Not just a better
10 and
person.
2, 10 and 2.
Not just a better
Years every 2 to 5.
yeah, right. I'm just at 11. Not just a better person, but an educated person, someone who has learned survival skills, so that you can feel confident in yourself. Because, you know, if you're going to travel that same 2,000 miles to get to your base camp to be with that unit that you choose to be with, okay, and not being able to form one in your own local area, you have many obstacles. But now you feel you have the confidence that you'll know that how to maneuver yourself to get there, what it's going to take to get there, the type of food that you're going to need, the type of water you're going to need, gas. So you've learned all these things, and then once you're there, you're self-contained with your gear that you have acquired and prepped over the time, and how to use it and utilize it properly. How to defend yourself. Like you said, you've never had a firearm before. Now you do. Now you have practice. Now you feel confident that you can defend yourself. You'll feel safer that way. And, you know, that means a lot. And for a lot of people out there that think, oh, I can't join a militia because I'm not part of that criteria of being a first responder or a Leo or a military, former military or reserve, you're every average day citizen can be a militia regardless. It's not race-based. It's not gender-based. It's not limitations for handicaps. And I'm not saying you're handicapped, because you are not by far. You know, I think in a lot of ways, we both had accidents in our time. I broke my neck, and you had some major issues with a brain injury, shattered elbow, or whatever. We've gotten stronger from that. In the beginning, it was hard adjustment because our lives have been changed and we had limitations put on us. But through the years, we've learned to adapt and overcome, and that's a big, big, big thing. Everyone, when this shit hits, whether it be man-made or natural disaster, you're going to have to adapt and overcome. You're going to have to keep a level head. And if you haven't prepared and you haven't gotten educated or learned any of these survival techniques, you're going to be a scatterbrain nutcase. And that's just how it's going to be. I mean, you're not going to know what to do from one instance to the next, where to go, who to trust.
Well, that actually brings up a really good point, because a particular moment that stands out, well, training that stands out in my mind from our survival weekend was when I was with another member, and we were working on how to keep your sidearm when someone tries to grab it from you. And honestly, I feel 1,000 times better now knowing that I did well in that training, where if it came down to it in a real life shit hit the fan situation, I feel like I could hang on to my firearm.
Exactly. And you know, also some people just go ahead and get whatever firearm without really consulting anyone else, and later find out it is not the proper fit for them. You know? And so being in a group, you can collaborate and get other people's input who have that experience.
Right. And that alone, having no experience with firearms, was invaluable to me.
Exactly. And that's why I say it's imperative that people try to sift through the mass media monopoly on your mind and the government's agenda to make us all look like a bunch of nutcases, because that's far from the truth. And if you're awake to what this government's been doing, and all the corruption, overreach, then that's the first step. The next step is to find like-minded people, and the third step is to find a group and get educated, get yourself together, start prepping. All right, folks, I'm going to end that here. I want to thank you for coming out tonight. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment on our videos. You can always follow our other pages by clicking the links below. And remember, folks, it wasn't raining when Noah built the ark, so prepare today to survive tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Good night, Kim Bob.
Good night, Mary Ellen.